the next, I hope you enjoyed this talk. You all did? Okay, now is the time that you have been waiting for. The time for a workshop, and we have with us Mr. Ghanshyam. And I would not need many words to describe him. You will be doing it by the end of the session for sure. But to give you a very short brief about him, he's an experienced program manager with a demonstrated history of working in education management industry. He has a hands-on experience in facilitating and teaching design thinking and design sprint to industry persons and students. Today is going to be, he has taken out his time to talk to you, or not talk to you, but take you through a complete introduction of AI. So thank you very much for being here, Ghana. That's how we call him. Thank you very much. And now, what is the importance of this workshop? We could have given you a lecture and walked away. The idea behind any kind of a technology based learning is application, to be able to use it, to be able to apply it. And for that to happen, we have to get down to working with our own hands. That is the importance of doing this. And the objective behind this particular workshop is essentially that when you leave this, when you we complete with this 2-day program, you understand AI better, you know how to use it, you know how to apply it, and you can experiment with them as the time goes by. Of course, we are going to come up with the advanced versions later, but this is going to set the ball in motion and will help you to understand it when your school introduces AI to you, or when you observe things around you. So AI is everywhere as it is. Like, if you look at anything that you're working with right now, all the electronic devices and all, AI is dominant everywhere. The only thing is to be observant and to be understanding and to now be more keen on learning about it, right? So I won't take much of your time. Over to you, Ghana. Thank you very much. And boys and girls, get started. Please, as usual, keep putting your questions in the chat box and we will be answering them slowly. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Anamika. So, hi all, welcome. So I see some of the comments saying, finally it's a workshop time and it's something to do hands-on. Yes, you will be doing some hands-on, but first, like anything else, there will be some talk. While I set up my machine and while I share my presentation, I think have a 2-minute break so that if you have a washroom, if you need to run to the bathroom, just go and come back, stretch yourselves, because I know you've been sitting for the past 2 hours and 20 minutes. So stretch yourselves and get ready. It's going to be a interactive session wherein I will ask you some questions in between, and I would want to hear from you as well. There are no system prerequisites, Bindu Malini. It's any system. If you have just a web connection, that's good enough. So if you're watching me, you will be able to take part in this workshop. So here you go. You have 2 minutes for a quick break. So Anamika, I'm sharing my screen. Let me know once you can.
Sure.
Are you able to see the screen?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's visible.
Perfect. Okay. First thing first, I was just looking at the comments. Question is which language we are using. You're not going to we are not going to use any particular language. So this is what I'm teaching you today, is how you can create models even without like knowledge of any language, any programming language. So anyone can create their own machine learning model. Second thing is prerequisite. As I told you, Ansh, all that you need is internet connection, and that's good enough. Like that will be towards the end of this workshop when we get to the hands-on part. Before that, I want to give you all an introduction to AI, to artificial intelligence. Before that, a little bit about myself. My name is Ghanshyam, as you all know. I have this company called Edler Hub, wherein I work with industry people, and I work with college and school students, helping them to understand various technologies, helping them spread awareness of design thinking. So when we say design thinking, it's one of the methodologies, it's one of the methods which is used to help foster the innovation. So it's a problem solving technique. Apart from that, I do a program management. I'm a program manager for University Innovation Fellows. The University Innovation Fellows is a program which is for college students, for undergrad and grad students. It is by the Stanford University, the D School at Stanford. It's a program by them, and I'm a program manager. I take care of the program in India and Southeast Asia, basically. Also a mentor for Atal Innovation Machine. Dr. Ramanan spoke about it, Atal Innovation Machine, and I'm one of the mentors for for a couple of schools in Bangalore. I'm based out of Bangalore. Siddhant mentioned about Google for Startups. So it's a program which Google is conducting for startup, helping them scale their or accelerate their startup, and I'm one of the mentors for them. And I also am a design sprint master. So Google has a program, or Google has a academy called Design Sprint Master Academy, and I'm one of the first few design sprint masters from India. So that's about me. Moving on to the next one. What can you expect from this workshop today? I will talk about WWW of AI. That's what, why, and when. I'll be introducing you to machine learning, and finally, like we'll be doing a hands-on. Like I'll also give you an opportunity where you can go ahead and you can create your AI models without any knowledge of these skills. So the term AI, so the moment we say AI, what comes into anyone's mind, anyone and everyone's mind today is it could be a robot, it could be the self-driving cars which Siddhant was talking about, or it could be any of the high-end equipments, or high-end, as he was talking about, finding the solar system, the Doppler solar system and stuff. But actually speaking, in our day-to-day life, we can see how AI has impacted. So this is my Gmail. So the moment I have a to address, and the moment I start sending an email, you can see that the name pops up. The moment I write a hi or dear, it takes from the name, it reads from the name, and it suggests me, okay, this is the name you need to do. So if I have 2 or 3 emails, it gives me like a comma. It is separated by comma. It gives me the names. It helps me to complete the statements. So you can say the moment I write hope, it says, okay, all is well, because that's something which I've been using. So what it does is the Gmail has understood from my past writing, and also Gmail has understood from other people's, like how the sentences have been formed, and it suggests me auto responses. It suggests me like what are the statements, how to complete the statements. One more example, feel free. The moment I say feel free and con, it gives me the next steps, like contact me if you have any questions. Another example, what we can see is any of these are day-to-day platforms what we are using for video consumption. It could be Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, MX Player, like Hotstar, everything is there. So where AI comes into picture is like what it recommends to us. If you can see, I have shared 2 screens. So one screen is mine, one screen is my friends. And you can see based on our past experiences or past viewing, it is suggesting totally different things for me. It is suggesting totally different things for my friend. So This is where AI comes into picture. This is where artificial comes into picture. The prediction part is where artificial intelligence comes into picture. Just give me a second. Another thing which we see in our day-to-day life is if you're using an Android device or if you're using an iPhone, you have your Siri or your Cortana on Windows or Hey Google on your Android devices, and even the speakers. So the moment you call them, it comes up and it is waiting for your command. So that is where AI comes into picture. Even on our phones, we have these keyboards which are helping or which are helpful in smart prediction. So if I'm just playing your video, you can look towards the right. You can see whenever automatically it started giving me like suggestions. The moment I tap on something, depending on my past experiences or depending on my past inputs, it started giving me some suggestions. So let's get to the important question of like the first question which I had mentioned. What is AI? Anyone wants to take a dig at it? I know a couple of you mentioned in the beginning that you have some experience with AI or machine learning. So anyone wants to write about what is AI? AI is artificial intelligence. Some people responded it's two-letter AI, it's artificial intelligence. Yes, what is AI? It's an artificial intelligence, and it was a term which was coined way back in 1950s. When it was initially when the term was created, it was described as any task performed by a program or a machine that if the humans carried out the same activity, we would say human had to apply intelligence to accomplish that task. So any task which a computer can do, which a machine can do, and which we see that humans also would have to put their intelligence to do it, is called artificial intelligence. The latest statement, or what Professor John McCarthy, who is also the father of AI, what he says is artificial intelligence is the science and engineering of making the intelligent machines, especially intelligent computer programs. And our go-to solution or our go-to site most of the time is the Wikipedia. Wikipedia says artificial intelligence or machine intelligence is the intelligence demonstrated by machines, unlike the natural intelligence displayed by humans and animals. So it is similar to what the humans and animals demonstrate, but this is the intelligence which is demonstrated by machines. So the next question is, why AI? Anyone wants to respond to this? Like, why is artificial intelligence needed? I think there is a bit of lag, so maybe I'll continue with this. Yeah, Pranshu, to stop wastage on time on repetitive tasks, correct. Anything else? To reduce work, saves time. That is right. But I would say the AI is important to solve a lot of problems in our society. Like Siddhant mentioned about it, called the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN SDGs. So these are the 17 problems which the United Nations has identified and wants to work by 2030. So we still have like next 10 years to work on these problems, to ensure that we are creating a better society, to ensure that we are reducing the poverty, to ensure every person has a meal, like has something to eat daily, there is no hunger, ensure health is maintained. So we have started seeing that, at least because of the pandemic, we have started seeing the infrastructure, the health infrastructure of various countries, the health infrastructure of various cities and various states, which is not great. It has not been that great. And AI is something which will be helpful, which has to be used to solve these kinds of problem in the society. So when to use AI? As you have said, it has to be used to ease some work for the human beings. I would say it has to be used when it as a supplementary intelligence for humans. I mean to say, like, it should not at all the times, it should not be to like looking to replace human beings. I think that's a discussion which has been going on. Will AI replace humans? AIs, I would even today I would say AIs will never be able to replace human beings. AI will always be able to help human beings take better decision, make better decisions. It is also helpful to use artificial intelligence when you have decisions to make based on a large amount of data. Like today, in terms of like say the video predictions itself, there is close to about like thousands and thousands TBs of data, terabytes of data, which is available in the world. And to suggest to choose from all these movies or choose from all these video content and suggest people what to watch is something which normal human beings cannot do. Like we have a certain capacity, we have a certain limitations after which our brain stops getting tired. But uh, but in terms of artificial intelligence, it helps us to process all this data and gives us better results or faster results. And finally, the third place where AI will be helpful is when you have to make decisions based on complex algorithms. If it is simple, straightforward algorithms, and if it's a small size of data, I think human beings can do this work by ourselves. Like we don't need the help of AI or any other system. But when we have complex algorithms and when we want to take some decisions based on these kinds of algorithms, complex decisions, that is when AI will be helpful. So all this is well, like we have seen AI where it is used, when it is used, how it like why should AI be used? But my next question is how? Like how are we creating this artificial intelligence? How are we creating or how to program this AI models, what we say? So to begin with, if this is artificial intelligence, as you know, it's a technique that enables machines to mimic human beings based on knowledge gain. So the keyword here is knowledge. The computer or like human beings, systems will be able to make decisions only when they have knowledge. And how do we gain knowledge? We gain knowledge by learning. So how does computer gain knowledge? Computer gains knowledge by machine learning. So machine learning is learning in which machines can learn on its own with the help of data and without being individually programmed. So when I say with explicitly program, when I say explicitly program, we are not programming for each and every problem scenario. We are providing data to the systems and we are helping the systems to with the basics, like how the data needs to be read or how the data needs to be parsed. But we are not going to like train the machines on each and every possibility. Then there is one more subset of machine learning called deep learning. So deep learning is nothing but a subset of ML where there are multiple dimensions to the data, and also it results in multiple layers of machine learning. So to give you an example, it is image recognition and speech recognition. So in an image, there will be like multiple layers of data. And there will be, so since there are multiple layers of data, we also need to go through the same image. The machine has to scan through the image or read that image multiple times so that it can learn everything about that particular image. One other, apart from artificial intelligence, I think one other topic which I also saw in the chat earlier today is called data science. Like, what is data science? Because the moment you talk about AI, data science comes into picture. The moment you talk about machine learning, data science comes into picture. And you might have heard a lot of people saying that they are working towards becoming a data scientist. So What exactly is data science? It is an interdisciplinary field about processes and systems to extract knowledge or insights in various forms, either in a structured data or unstructured data. So from the existing data, the field of the study of understanding this data and getting meaningful outcomes is what data science is about. Let us look at what do you say, a relationship between computer science, artificial intelligence, data structures, data science, deep learning, and ML. So I'll show you an image and I'll wait for a minute from now. There are A, B, C, D, E, like there are 5 circles here. Can anybody tell like what each circle is, what each circle represents here? I'll wait for like say a 30 seconds to a minute to start seeing the responses. So these 5 circles represent computer science, artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning, deep learning. So if you can just give me like what is the relation? Okay, D is deep learning, fine. A is ML. Okay, A is AI. Layers of data. Yeah, Gursimar, all these are like not layers of data. All these represent each part which I mentioned in the subject, the header. One represents artificial intelligence, AI. One represents computer science, deep learning, data science, and machine learning. I think we have the right answer. Om gave the right answer. A is computer science, B is artificial intelligence, C is machine learning, D is deep learning, and E is data science. So if you can see by this relationship chart, we can understand that the computer science is not just about artificial intelligence. So there are other aspects of computer science as well. Like we still have our mobile programming. Mobile programming is different. It is not only artificial intelligence. And then B, that is AI, is a subset of our computer science. It's a subset of the whole computer knowledge. What artificial intelligence is made up of machine learning and deep learning with a bit of data science as well, because data science is not just computer science knowledge, it is also the domain knowledge. So when you say data science business analyst, so that person does not just know computer science, they understand the business part of it. In data science for finance, that person just does not know just computer science, but that person also knows the domain, which could be a finance. So data science is partially overlapping all these computer science concepts, all the AI, ML, and DL concepts. But data science, it would be wrong to say that data science is artificial intelligence or data science is machine learning. So with that, that's just a brief introduction to the WWW of AI. So we are moving on to the next part, that is machine learning. So what is machine learning? I already told you, machine learning is a kind of learning in which machine can learn on its own with the help of data and without being explicitly programmed. It also machine learning also talk about applying algorithms to observe data and make predictions upon data. So that is, you are giving data to the computer, and based on the data you give to the computer, you are training the computer to read this data, understand this data, and after understanding the data, the computer starts giving you the predictions. After analyzing the data, after going through the algorithms, the algorithm is machine learning. What you write is the machine learning algorithm. So after analyzing these algorithms, after going through the algorithm of the data undergoes this entire transformation through the algorithms, you get the output, and that is the prediction. So there are 4 different solutions in machine learning, like 4 different kinds of outcomes. I am not telling these 4 are the only 4. There could be multiple, but these 4 are the key machine learning solutions which is being in place today. That is classification, regression, clustering, and recommendation. So I get into classification. Like, what is classification? Classification is predicting a discrete value of an entity with a given set of features. So we give some data to the computer classifies this data based on the algorithm what we have taught the computer or what we have provided for the computer. It classifies these data, and based on that it makes a decision, it gives a prediction. To give you a very classic example, consider if this is data of all kind of messages or all kinds of email what you are receiving. The computer goes through the classification process. The computer in a classification solution, the computer goes through all these data, understands this data, and it classifies them into two sectors. So you can see some in the previous slide, you can see that it is clustered. In the next one, you can see it is separated, like there are some green arrows and there are some blue arrows. And what this is it is to predict if it's a spam. So you can see that based on what kind of data it is, your spam prediction happens like this. So computer, how does spam prediction happens? When we say spam prediction is a use of AI, it goes through this kind of a thing where it classifies the input into different parts, and based on the algorithm provided by us, it says what is spam. Another good example for classification is your sentiment analysis. So sentiment analysis is also a big thing which is happening in the world, where people talk about like what is the opinion of the world, what is the opinion of the country. So the opinion earlier, it used to be like a local survey where the news agencies would go to people and talk to them and understand their opinions. But of late, the entire opinions have shifted to online. So depending on your messages online, depending on the kind of words you are using in your statements, in your messages, the algorithm, the AI algorithms tell you whether it's a positive message or it's a negative message, and overall what kind of opinion is going on in the country and the world. So the next one is regression. So what is regression? Regression attempts to predict a real numeric value for an entity with a given set of features. So these machine learning solutions, each of them have different kind of output or a different kind of requirement. So while classification is to classify, the regression is generally to predict a value, predict a numeric value. For example, if we consider a house, the properties, the attributes of the house as a property is price. The price also depends upon the address, what type of a house it is, whether it is a villa, whether it is an independent house, or it's an apartment, it's a farmhouse, what kind of house it is, the age of the house, whether parking is present in the house. So these are the different attributes based on which a property of a value, the value of a property, the value of a property is determined. So according to regression, what happens is when you input all these properties, when you give all these data to the computer comes up with an algorithm where it places different properties of the house. Like it is an invisible chart how the computer predicts it. And then depending on the features and depending on the different features you're going to feed the computer, it will tell you estimated value for a new property. Say there is a new house which is going to be sold in Delhi tomorrow. And if you're looking to know what is the price of this, using these kinds of regression models, the linear regression models, you will be able to identify, the computer will be able to identify, and it will tell you like what kind of a price can you expect, depending on what properties, what attributes you are providing for that. Coming to the third one is clustering. Clustering is grouping entities with similar features. It is called unsupervised learning. So what is unsupervised learning? I'll be talking to you a bit later in the session today. So coming to clustering. Computer goes through the data, it reads through the data, like you're not providing any labels here. It reads, it scans the data, and then it comes up with its own prediction of like how it needs to be done. So one of the examples, classic examples, is clustering of news. So it reads all the news feeds which come on a daily basis, and it classifies it whether it is a technology based news or whether it is a politics based news, uh, and so on and so forth. Another example for clustering is the market segmentation. So if you say like this is each circle represents the number of hours or the games, number of people playing games. So if you look at this chart, the computer comes up with a model where it groups the similar items together, it groups the similar inputs together, and then it helps the humans to name them. So for example, you can see between the age, on the x-axis it's the age and y-axis is the playtime in hours. You can see that people between like say 10 and 30, they are serious gamer, that they play for a long time it could be on the mobiles or it could be on the computer. So computer starts clustering them together. Similarly, then it finds that there are some people who won't play for a long time, but there is age. Like if you can see through this graph, you can clearly make sure that these are the people between 30 and 55 or 30 and 60 who don't invest a lot of time on gaming. So there are some people who play here. That's why they are called the casual gamers. And finally, like at an old age, either they can play some games or they don't even play games. So they are the no gamers groupism. So the clustering. So the machine goes through the data, reads the data, finds the common things between each other, and it starts grouping. This is what the clustering algorithms look like, or clustering output looks like. And finally, we have the recommendation system. So recommendation system is all it does is, as the name suggests, it is recommending an item to user based on the past behavior or preferences of similar users. So what does this mean? Like, let us take the system knows the data, it has the data, it has your past purchase, and it has also details about other users' past purchases. So there could be a lot of people who could have bought similar things from you, similar things like what you have bought. So then there is the recommendation system which comes into picture. The recommendation system, it's a matrix. It has like a lot of algorithms which goes through different kind of predictions, which can suggest different kind of predictions. And based on this matrix, you get the recommendations. Like you might have found this probably on say Amazon, Flipkart, or any other e-commerce site. The moment you purchase one item, it starts suggesting you like you might also like, or it also starts suggesting you like there are people who also bought something else with this. Like for example, say if you're looking for a laptop, it says the people who also bought a mouse and a keyboard, a mouse and a monitor. So this is about this is the product recommendation system. This is how the product recommendation system will be helpful. So let us look at the process of machine learning, or the pipeline of machine learning. We have the data. We have the machine learning algorithms, which leads into a machine learning model. So the data is fed into the machine learning model, which ends up giving us in form of predictions. So that is the one which gives us the predictions. And quickly rushing through another slide, the applications of machine learning. We have spoken, like Siddhant has spoken about a few of them already. Like it could be a movie recommendation, it could be face detection, it is anomaly detection, image analysis, natural language processing, IoT analysis, or spam filtering. So these are not all the applications of machine learning. Whatever I have listed is some of the majorly known applications of machine learning. There are more than that as well. I was talking to you about unsupervised learning a few minutes ago. So what is unsupervised learning? Before that, there is two ways how machine learns. One is supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning, when it comes to human beings, I can say it's a formal education system where you are taught by it could be your parents, and it could be your teachers. Like there is a well-structured learning which happens. There's a well-structured knowledge sharing which happens. And then we have unsupervised learning. that is where you start learning on your own. It depends from each person, like how it depends from each person. It depends on each machine and each different algorithms we write. Uh, Supervised learning, we train the model by providing valid label data. Then the machine starts to learn how to map the input to the output based on what we have provided as data earlier. So as an example, let's take the data here. It's a property, like there on the X and Y axis, we have the area and we have the cost of the property. There are properly labeled data, like what we spoke earlier. There are properly labeled data as to the different attributes of a house, which are provided to the computer and which are provided to the machine. So whenever I say computer, please also understand that as machine, which are provided to the computer, and they will now be able to predict, like as and when you give a new house or as and when you list a new property, they will be able to predict the fair value of the new home. So you can see in this second graph, there is a green color icon here of a house. So that is a newly entered property, and the machine is telling you, or the machine is predicting what would be the value of this particular property. So this is an outcome of supervised learning, because the inputs what we have given is already labeled well. Then coming to the unsupervised learning, here we provide only data to the machines. The computer by itself, the machine by itself, starts going through the data to make sense of the data which is provided. So it starts breaking down the data and tries to cluster by itself. I will be talking about anomaly detections here a little bit. So similar kind of a example for houses itself. You can see that you are providing all the data, like no labels. You're providing all the data to the model, and what the model does is it starts clustering. It could be based on area. It starts clustering. It could be based on price. But computer itself, the model itself, goes through all these data, reads through the data and starts clustering themselves. So it is a logical clustering, but the logic is not decided by the human beings. The computer by itself suggests what is the logic. So computer itself determines what the logic will be for these clustering. So I think Aditya was asking what is anomaly detection. So anomaly detection, Aditya, is when there is a difference, when there is a discrepancy. Like for example, say you are giving a set of say dog images like you're giving a set of images to the computer, and 2 or 3 of them are not of the same type. Like if it's a mixture of say animal images, there will be mostly the images of like say lions and tigers, and 1 or 2 in between you are giving a rat image. And if you want to find what are the different images present, or what images are not part of a bigger cluster, the anomaly is detected. So the rat images here would be the anomalies. So we have spoken so far about machine learning. We have spoken about the solutions of machine learning, the different models of machine learning. But one thing we also need to think or talk about here is data sets. So data sets is the data you're providing for the computer, you're providing for the models to learn. So generally the data sets are split as training data sets and test data sets. Say if you have like 10,000 records of the house selling, or the 10,000 records of the house purchases in the past 10 years or past 2 years, how the data is broken down is 80% of this data is fed into the computer as training data sets. So based on this data that the computer starts training itself, it could be both supervised learning and unsupervised learning. You're not providing the 100% data. You're always, like, a good practice is to provide only the 80% of data for training. If you're labeling your images, it will be again 80% of the images, whatever you have labeled, will be going to training. The remaining 20% of data is always kept for testing. So this will also help you to determine the accuracy, like how the computer has learned. Even before you give a algorithm out to the public, even before you release a machine learning model to the public, you need to know what is the accuracy of your model is. So always make it a practice that you are not giving all the data you have for training. You need to give 80% for training and keep 20% to ensure to check whether your model is giving you the right predictions. So then when you once you're satisfied with the predictions, that is when you can release these models to the market. So let us look at some of the real life applications based on machine learning. So we are considering two case studies. The first case study is a recommendation system, just a representation of a recommendation system. Now, my question is, how does this recommendation system work? Like, we'll have a look at that. Like, do you know how to uh, how do the computers know? How does the computer know like what to recommend to Ramesh? What kind of movies to recommend to Ramesh? He's one of the users, and what kind of movies to recommend to Julie, who's another user? There is 250 plus TB of data, right? So uh, in this case, we need to understand like how this movie recommendation system works. Let us look at what information the computer knows about Ramesh. So while as human beings we know Ramesh is a person who likes action and comedy movies, like he likes these two, or action, drama, and comedy movies. The computer can understand this only through this kind of vectors or these kinds of matrices. So they don't know what Ramesh is a man or a woman, or what is the age. They don't identify that. All that they know is based on his previous watching, what is Ramesh like, or what kind of movies has Ramesh watched. So it has this kind of a metric. So for action, it's 5.04, 2.5, zero point 0.02 for romance, 1.4 comedy, and 1.1 for tragedy. So these are the movies he has watched. Then it knows the movies. So how it sees movies is, again, it doesn't differentiate between a Japanese movie or a Turkish movie or a Korean movie. All that it knows movies is in terms of numbers, in terms of values. So these are the categories, like when we say action, drama, romance, right? Like these are the categories which are predicted, or which are labeled by the users, labeled by the human beings. The computer starts only understanding them, the computer starts only reading them. Post this, what happens is it gets into a matrix. Okay, like considering Ramesh's watching behavior and these three movies, this is the uh, table which it sets up. Okay, so looking at this table, can you tell me like what do you think should be the first recommendation? Which movie do you think the system has to recommend Ramesh first? Anshuman, you have said ratings and items. Ratings and items comes into picture, but there are a lot of times when even a two rating movie might be suggested for you, whereas it will not be suggested for others. That is because it goes through a complex set of algorithms. Like it goes through a different set of algorithms. I wouldn't say complex set. It goes through a different set of algorithms. It's not just about the rating. Okay. One thing which I missed is if you're giving a response like which movie, I also want you to write why that movie. Like why do you think? Some people have said movie one. Why movie one? Some people have said movie three. Why movie three? Can you tell me the reason as well? I would be interested in knowing like how you are making those decision of which recommendation. Okay. So I see that everyone has their own opinion in terms of, like, someone says action score is high, so that would be the case. Someone says movie one because the parameters are very close to what Ramesh has watched. But how computer decides is it does a simple vector multiplication. So it does a vector multiplication and it comes with this kind of a output. It says when you multiply each of these values of movies with the corresponding values of what Ramesh is watching, it gives you a score, and the score with the highest the movie with the highest score wins it. So you can see, like, in case of movie 3, romance is having a higher number of higher rating, but even in spite of that, it recommends movie 2 because of the total multiplication. So let us go to the next case study. The next case study is sentiment analysis using simple counting model. Just a disclaimer, I think I could have missed it earlier. So all those case studies which I'm talking here, and all the information which I'm talking here, which I'm giving you here, need not be the only information or the mechanism which is used in the industry. There is always a different, like, every company has a different recommendation algorithm. So for example, in this case, if I have, it could be like Netflix is using this kind of recommendation, but it could be totally different which another company is doing. So that is the difference each company comes up with, and that is the difference. You have different kind of predictions on each of these platforms. So all the calculations are just one of the samples, one of the case studies, how it has been done. So talking about the next case study of sentiment analysis. So consider this example. In the simple threshold classifier, there are two types of classifiers which are using. One is a simple threshold classifier, and the other one is linear classifier. So as per the simple threshold classifier, what it does is it has a set of positive values, it has a set of negative values. The computer is fed, the model is fed with this kind of information earlier itself. And whenever there is an input statement, it just scans through the entire statement, sees the number of positive words and sees the number of negative words. So if there are more positive words than negative words, the statement is considered to be positive. If there are more negative words than the positive words, then the statement is considered negative. So this is a very simple math-based calculation, which based on which the entire positiveness or the negativeness is classified. This is not the only way. As I said, there is another way called linear classifier. In linear classifier, what you do is, it is not just the positive words and the negative words. You are giving you're also specifying the weights for each word. See, for good, it could be just 1, whereas great or fantastic, the score could be more. Awesome, the score is higher. And similarly, you have for bad and awful, you also have scores. For some reason, it's not visible. There is a negative sign for each of these negative words to ensure that the total sum goes negative as well. So depending on the total sum of the statement, total sum of the words, it is classified either as a positive, or it is classified as a negative statement. Okay. So yeah, this is a very brief introduction to machine learning. And the types of machine learning, along with the case studies as well. So the next step, what we are going to do is, we are going to do a bit of hands-on. We are going to create AI models without any knowledge of programming. Without any knowledge of any programming, I believe some of you are here for the first time. Few of you have knowledge about C, C++, Python, and some of you might not have. So just to ensure that we are all on the same page, I ensured that we do create models without any knowledge of programming itself. Okay, the first thing you need to do is you need to download a data file. So open this link, https:// bit.ly//eh hyphen tsoai dash 1. So download the data file from here and download and extract the file. So extract only the main zip file. There are multiple zip files in the file. Don't do it yet. Just download and extract the main zip file. We are sharing the link with you on the chat. Yeah, the link will be shared soon on the chat. Let's wait probably for another minute while everyone get the file downloaded and extract them. Aditya, when I say extract, it is just about unzipping the files. Arnav will be doing both audio and video. We'll be both doing the images and the audio part. So just hold on, we'll get started one by one. You can extract it to your desktop, or if you have any specific folders, you can extract the data to specific folder. So let's get started. I'm moving to the, let's click on get started. And the first one, like right now, Teachable Machine with Google. So it's again a website which Google has created as part of their experiments with AI. This is a website which helps people to create their own AI models without any without any knowledge of any programming language. All that they need to know or understand is a bit of JSON and scripting, that too at a later point of time to use these models. So we are going to get started with image project. So click on image project. either you can use your own webcam or you can upload samples. So let's upload the samples. I have in the zip file which I have given you, I have given you images of cats and dogs. So click on class 1 and rename it as cats. Similarly, class 2 as dogs. Click on upload. And now comes the, you need to open the folder where you have extracted these images. So when you extract the folder, you have, like when you extract the data, you have two folders here, audio and images. Double click on images and click on training. So right now what we are doing is we are providing the training data. So let me go ahead and either I can drag and drop them, or I can just click on this button here and open the files from here directly. Images, training, cats. Again, I have images for dogs as well. So let me go ahead and choose that. Oh, sorry, the second link you have asked for. I'm just seeing the comments. Extremely sorry for this. The second link is going to be teachablemachine.withgoogle.com. Yes, we have sent you the link again. So I'm sorry, like we went too fast here. So we're going back, like I'll just start from the first point when I opened this website. So first thing we are doing is like get started. Right now, this particular website is allowing you for three kinds of projects. It helps you to create a model based on images. It helps you to create models based on audio, and it helps you to create models based on the poses. Aditya, it is teachablemachine.withgoogle.com. I can type out in a notepad. So this is the second URL. It is teachablemachine.withgoogle.com. And after that, click on the button Get Started. Someone from the Incubate team, Anamika, are you able to hear my voice? Because there are some comments who says that they're not able to hear me.
Yeah, I'm able to hear your voice. I can hear
Okay,
you.
perfect. Perfect. Okay, click on getting started and click on the first one. We are first going to do a image project. So this is just a sample example which we are going to do. Now that you have access to this website, like it's free, like anyone can access this website. Feel free to come here and try coming up with different kinds of models. But for a standard example where everyone can go through the same what do you say go through the same example and see similar kind of outputs, we are going to use the images which is present in the zip file. So when I say extract from the zip file, I mean to say unzip the files into a folder. We will need those files for this particular example. Click on upload, or before that, let's change the name. Click on class 1 here. It becomes editable. There you can type as cats. That is what I'm going to do. You are free to choose dogs or any other name as well, what you wish to. Second one is dogs. So this is nothing but we are labeling the data. So this is very similar to the supervised learning where we are labeling the data and we are uploading it. Click on upload. So then we have choose images for cats. So click on this. So repeating again, once you have extracted the zip file, you can see two folders, audio and images. For this particular example, we are going for images. Click on images. Since we are giving the data to the model to learn or to train the model, since we are trying to train the model, click on the training folder because I have more data here. As I told you, like try to give 80% of data for training and keep 20% for testing. Similarly, I have like 50 images of cats and 50 images of dogs. So since we are uploading for cats, go to cat and select all the files. So do a control A, it select all the files and click on open. Once you do that, you can see on the right side all the cat images loading. So these are the images I have provided in the zip file. So you can also see that it says 50 image samples. What you can do is, in case if not all the 50 are selected, click on this again and select the missing cat images. So even if I select the same image again, it will take that as a new input. So it will try to read it as a new input and it will go through the, it will read the image again. Raji Lakshmi, if you can ask for which steps, I'll be happy to repeat. Like which part do you want me to repeat? Aryan, shortcut for selecting everything is Control key on your keyboard, Control and A key on your keyboard. If you are using a Mac system, it would be Command and A, Command button and A. Jishnu, I'm not sure if this is Android phone supported. I haven't tried. It could be possible that it is supported on Android phone as well. I will be a bit slow, Nina. I understand like some of them are still taking time to load the images. So let's wait for a few minutes and then we will proceed. So by the way, since I have already selected the cat images here, I'm not going to select them again. I'm clicking on cancel because I have already loaded these files. So now I'm doing the same for dog. So if you come down, I'll click on image samples for dog, upload, and choose the images. So what I'm doing is I have all the dog images in a different folder. So I'm going to that particular folder, clicking on the first dog photo image and doing a Control A and click on open. If you are someone who is well versed with keyboard shortcuts, you can choose the Command A, Control A, or you can select all one by one using the keyboard or using the mouse. Because you were asked to download the zip file, the link is provided above in this chat. It is called bit.ly. bit.ly/eh-tsoai-1. So I hope everyone has selected the cats and dog images. Let's go towards the train model. So before we click on train model, I want to show you, like, just below the train model, there is something called advanced, and you have different options there. The first one is called epochs. Epochs means, like, going on this question mark, it describes what epochs means. Epochs means how many times the image or the model needs to run through each image, needs to read each image. Kushagra, there is no order for the images. Any order is fine. Nina, just check if it's probably a mute or something, because I think others can hear me clearly. So, sorry, coming back to epochs. Epoch is the number of times it needs to run through your sample data or the training data. Right now, the default numbers is 50. I would suggest you always to give a higher epoch. It will take a longer time for the training, but still higher epochs means higher accuracy. What happens is the model runs through the same image multiple times, that it can start recognizing each and every pixel. It can start recognizing in a better way. It learns learns the images in a better way to give you proper predictions. So I am say right now we can choose 200 epochs. The next one is batch size. So batch size is at once how many images have to be read. The lesser the number, the better it is. No, Aryaman, epochs is 50 for, it's a default number. It is not because it is 50 images. Even if you give 10 images, the epochs will always be 50, because that's the default which the website uses. Okay, coming back to batch size, the number of images it needs to scan at once. So I will select the minimum number, that is 16. Learning rate, let it be the same. It's 0.01, because the higher number, the way it learns gets varied. So let's leave it whatever it is. And there is something called under the hood. So if you are interested to know how it is, how your model is being training, how the images are being run, what you can do is you can just click on under the hood. It yeah, I'm sure it is visible. So click on under the hood, and it opens a column on the right, and it does not start showing until the training starts. Yeah, the learning rate should be 0.001 on everyone. Sorry, for everyone. Don't change that. Click on train model. So the moment first it says preparing the training data. So what Google also does, or what this particular site also does, is given the number of images, it splits by itself as 80-20. So 80% of these images is used for training, and 20% it considers itself for testing. So even before the model is given for you, the system itself tries to see the accuracy. So they use that for that. They use the 20% data for that. So you can see here on the right side, since we have clicked on under the hood, how it is happening. So it says accuracy per epoch. So 47 times it has run. In the initial times, you can see the accuracy is lower, but as and when the number of epochs are increasing, the accuracy also is increasing. And here it shows how many epochs, like how many times the model has already started working on your data. So you can see that running here. Answering one of the questions, why batch size is low, so 1632. So that is what it's that is the number of images it can read at once, and they have chosen it as a matrix of 4 cross 4. Hridayjot, you have asked for learning rate. For learning rate, it's something which this particular website is using as a parameter. So I am not very sure on what the learning rate means here, except for epochs. Each site or each model, tomorrow if you're going to write your own machine learning models, you can come up with different parameters. So learning rate is something which Google has chosen to keep it. Aditya, can you say which part you want to explain? So I'm closing under the hood now, because our model is trained and we can now test our model. What we can do is switch the input as off. Like if in case you have cats and dogs at home, you can use the input as on and try to show your cats and dogs directly to the webcam. If not, switch it off, and instead of webcam, choose file. Here on the top right there is an option for webcam. Choose file, and now we can start choosing images. So what I will do is, let me open my folder. I'll go back to the, so right now I was in test, I'm going to training, right now I was in training, I'm going to the test folder. Let's do for cats. So I'll randomly drag and drop a folder here. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's not taking. Sorry, the input I had turned it off. So you have to turn on the input. My mistake, I had turned off the input. So now let me try the drag and drop. Yeah, the moment it becomes move, you can see until now it was copy. But the moment you drag the file on that particular area, it says move. So leave the mouse. You can see the output underneath. It says the probability is 100% for cat. Let's take this where we have more cats there and drag on the same area. So it is recognizing them as cats. Let's check for dogs. Yeah, you can start seeing like the probability here. It starts saying cats or dogs. Saksham, I think this is built using AutoML Vision APIs. So since it's by Google, I believe it is developed using AutoML Vision itself. It depends. Like if you have chosen the same kind of epochs, if you have chosen the same kind of files, and uh, which kind of image are you loading, it depends on that. So that's the reason which I told you, like not every machine will treat it the same way, not every algorithm treats it the same way. If the epochs are different, it could be the output can differ as well. So now that this part is done, you have an option to export your model. So just thinking that this is something which you want to use in your which you want to use in your games. So this is where I believe I can answer it a little bit of what you have been asking earlier. Like if you want to use AI and ML in your games, how you can do it. First, you have to create a model, and you can create a model using the existing tools, or you can create the models on your own. Okay. Creating the models, one thing which you need to do, one thing which you need to know is all this creation of ML models needs a thorough knowledge of mathematics. So it is nothing but your algorithms, it needs to come up with a lot of probability and statistics. It uses a lot of linear algebra. So have your basics strong if you want to build your own AI, if you want to build your own ML model. It doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter whether you know C, whether you know Python, because for writing the algorithms you need to have your basics right, you need to have your algorithm skills right. Okay, click on exporting model. If you want to download this entire model, you can download it, or what you can also do is, this website gives you three options. You can export this for TensorFlow. One is TensorFlow JS, one is the TensorFlow Keras model. So that is for if you're using the TensorFlow cloud for any of your projects. And then there is TensorFlow Lite. So TensorFlow Lite is if you're creating these models and if you want to deploy it for any of your mobile applications, you can use TensorFlow Lite. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm going for TensorFlow.js, and I just click on upload my model. So after uploading the model, the only key thing what you need is this one, this URL. That is the URL where your model is existing. I am just going back to some of the comments before I come here. Aryan, I'm not sure. Like Google has Google has outsourced this entire teachable machine. So if you go to GitHub, you can find what are the programs they're using and what are the commands they're using to make this happen. So I haven't explored that. If you are interested, please go ahead and explore that. There is a complete, this entire project is available on GitHub. Next, Raspberry Pi TensorFlow, right? Yes. Guneet, after moving the image, see, moving the image is one way where I told you to test your data. If you're not able to move, use the upload, choose images button which is present, and you will be able to do the same. Lucifer, we have trained the model only as we have trained the model only based on cats and dogs images. So will it recognize lion as a cat? I'm not sure, because computer does not know that lion belongs to cat family. You can try giving lion as an input and see what it does. It is a possibility that it could also recognize it as a dog, because there could be some dog images which have similar features, or like say the hair, the facial hair. It could be that. Ayush, what is loss per epoch? Loss per epoch in the sense if it is going through a particular cycle in one of the learning cycles, if it has lost any data or if it is not able to recognize some data in an image, that is the loss per epoch. Okay, repeat from the export button. Okay, let me start doing that. I click on the export model button or export model option. You can use your models for three different, like you can export for three different kinds of projects. One is the JavaScript version, that is the TensorFlow JavaScript version. Then you have TensorFlow Keras model. So this is where you're using cloud, like the TensorFlow cloud itself, TensorFlow as a platform itself. For that, if you want the model, you need to use the TensorFlow option. And if you're using it for mobile devices, you use the TensorFlow Lite. You have more details about whether it is for Android or whether it is for Coral here. You will be able to get more details here. But for this example, what I did is I clicked on TensorFlow JS, and I initially first time it gave me like upload. There was a button here called upload. I clicked on that. Since my model is already ready, you can see this. There is a shareable link, and for an example, what we can do is copy this entire code from here. So I am copying it, and I will paste that code and save it as a HTML file, just as an example. So when you open, this is how you see. I am not going to click on this start button because in the HTML file, we have written a code where it needs to use the uh, webcam, and I don't like my webcam is already occupied with for this particular session. So you will not be able to see anything in the webcam, or you will not be able to show the output. So you are free to try it. I am sure like some of you were trying to start the webcam and see yourselves. So this is very similar to that. It starts giving it, and it starts showing like 30% dog, 80% dog, or whatever it is. Nihal, scrape images. One thing is try to download legal image, like images in a legal way, because most of the times images might be copyrighted. So the best place where you can download images is kaggle.com. So I'm just putting it here. It's kaggle.com. It is not just images. There are different kinds of data. So as and when you people are interested to learn more about artificial intelligence, learn more about machine learning and deep learning, you can go to kaggle.com. This is one place where people also, they have like a lot of competitions happening on machine learning. So if someone is really interested, please visit this site. All the cats and dogs images which I shared with you are downloaded from kaggle.com itself. Kushagra, you can download it. Downloading it, you can use this JavaScript file in whichever manner you want, or in whichever in whichever web page or a website which you want to do it. I'm Big Boss. Probably you need to scroll down your screen or zoom out from your browser. That is why you're not seeing the output. Simran, I copied the entire content. So I'm just showing you. I copied this entire part. It's a sample which they are given. The code snippet is something which the website, which when you're exporting, it gives you. I just copied it and saved in a notepad file as HTML. there are also other websites from where you can um, use these, what do I say, these JavaScript files, the links to JavaScript files, and you'll be able to create games. You'll be able to create learning modules, teaching modules. This is especially for the teachers. So it could be very helpful. And again, there is another website called Glitch. If you want to see, it's Glitch. So Glitch is a website where you can do programs without knowledge of any programming language. Even there, you can use these ML models to create programs, to create some amazing games or activities. You can plan for some activities. Kashinathan, I need to know, like, when you say I'm not able to upload an image, where are you not able to upload an image? Okay, Aryan, I uploaded an image of a page of a book. It says it's 86% how. So what it does is it doesn't know, like it doesn't read your image name and it suggests the name. It suggests what it does is it goes through each and every pixel in your test image or in your source image, and if it finds any similarity between that, that is when it says, okay, this probably can be classified as a cat. So that is how. So, Suryansh, what can we do with the JavaScript? You can use this JavaScript in any of your websites, in any of your web programs, or you can also use this in these websites, which I said, the Glitch. Glitch also uses JavaScript, so you can use JavaScript as input, and you can use any of these machine learning models in your programs. There are some games where I have seen, which is based on your activities. So what they have done is they have taken a model from this one, and there is a image on the screen who runs when you run, who jumps when you jump. So Parth, I think if you are talking about the HTML, just open the HTML and click on that start button. That is what it is. So rather than this, I would tell you, let's go to the next one. Let's go to another example. Before we go to an example, if in case you're interested to save this file, click on this icon or click on this hamburger icon here and click on save project to drive. So this project will be saved to your Google Drive. It will ask you to log in with your Google credentials. Yeah, it'll ask you to log in with your Google credentials, and you can save this project. So since I've already saved this project, what I'm going to do is I'll create a new project now. And we are going to audio project now. So in case of audio project, you have two options. Again, either you can record it directly from your microphone or you can upload. One thing about uploading files is you cannot upload any audio file into this program. So the current limitation what they have is you need to upload only those files which are downloaded from this website. So I have already created them and shared with you. So I'm going to, first class is the background noise. So I'm going to choose the zip file for background noise. Now, if in the original folder, as I told you, there were two folders, audio and images. I click on audio. I click on background noise samples and open it. Like, don't unzip it. This takes input only in the form of a zip file. Then I have two more, I can create two more classes. So first class, I'm doing claps. Again, uploading files. I have the clap sample. And third one is I'm creating a new class. So let me delete this and show. If you come further down, there is a small option called add class. You need to click on add class. And I'll rename it as Whistle. So these are the samples I have created. You are free to create more classes if you want, or for now you can just stop it here, like with these three examples which I have shown. So Whistle samples. Okay, it is showing me an error. So let me try dragging them. Yeah. So there is a possibility it is saying you it can upload only. Yeah. So it is not uploading because for upload it says it needs to download only with this one. So what you can do is you can do drag and drop. Drag the file and drop it here. Drag the zip file and drop it. That's what I showed you as well. Once you do that, you will be able to see the samples here. I'll wait for a few minutes before you're able to upload this, and so that you have some time to upload this. Yeah, so the upload is not working, guys. So if the upload is not working, use the drag and drop option. You will be able to see the samples loading there. Worst case, if even drag and drop is not working, I would say go ahead, use the mic, and you will be able to what do I say? Set the examples or upload, create samples. So let me show you one example of how to use the mic as well. I hope I'll be able to use it. So I'm scrolling down, adding a class. I'll name it as test. And use mic. Okay, I have a backup mic as well. So let me try that. Sample one. So after it records only for 2 seconds. So after it records, I need to extract samples. I click on this extract samples button. Similarly, let me create, it says 8 minimum, so let me go ahead and create sample 2, sample 3, sample 4, sample 5, sample 6, sample 7, last 2 samples. So you can see that I have created another class called test, and this is directly I'm using the microphone to record them. So I showed this just as an example so that in case you're not able to drag and drop the files, you can also use microphone to create your own records or create your own sample files as well. How you can download it? There is a small 3 dots, click there, and you can click on download samples. So this is how I downloaded the samples for you. You can download the samples in same way for a future use as well. Epochs, again, in this one you don't have multiple options, it's only epochs. Again, I always try to keep the epochs higher, so for now I keep 150. And let me click on train model. It will take a while for the training to complete, and it's still preparing the data, and once it prepares the data, you'll start seeing the output. Ishan, yeah, you can set the higher epochs value as well. The more epochs value you set, the more time it takes to train the model. So use 100 to 200. That's really fine. Meenakshi, it could depend on which kind of image it is. Basically, if it is if there is some issue with the image and it looks more like if there are more features of cat in that particular image and if the quality is not good, this does happen. And you can see how it uses the data from trained audio. Like once it is done, see, right now I'm talking, whenever I'm talking, it is giving most of the noise is the output is wavering between background noise and test, because it has some part of the data for claps is having a background noise. It is having like a white noise in the background. So whenever there is a white noise which the microphone is getting, it thinks that it's a clap. So that's why that the whole numbers have been changing in the output. Now I'll show you with an example of clap. So you can see that specifically only when I clapped it, the claps went for 100%, because that is how it has read that. So if you see the samples, right, you can see some parts of the sample in different colors. So that is how it has taken it. And you can also see in this microphone part where it is continuously reading your data or continuously reading your voice. If you're talking, in my case, since I've been continuously talking, it's reading that. Now, if I'm quiet for a while, you can see background noise getting more of the percentage. So the reason test is also getting some kind of a number is because in my samples which I fed, I was not talking continuously. So there was some pauses in between. So the machine has read that as, okay, even the test data can be that there is some silence. So that is the reason you always were seeing there is some portion of test percentage also which is being shown. So it was not 100% of background noise, but like say 80 to 90% of background noise and the test. So overlap factor, it's how frequently, what is the overlap which can be existing between two test samples it needs to take. So there could be a 0.5 seconds of overlap. So that is the overlap factor. You just take on that arrow mark, it gives you that exact description of what is that overlap factor. So yesterday, earlier this week, when I was trying on this particular portal, right, I also trained it with the sounds of cats and dogs. But I was trying to do that. Issue was uploading the samples. Uploading the samples became an issue. So that's the reason I did not share the cats and dogs samples with you, because they had to be again like directly recorded to the mic, and then they had to be downloaded. So that's the only reason I didn't do that. But you are free to do it if you have like pets at home. Use them. I don't know, like another interesting thing for you is you can create one class each for each of your household people voices. One could be for you, one could be for your brother or sister, your siblings, one could be for your parents. And then in the output, try and see like if they talk, is it showing the correct value? And can we create games or something with this site? This site will not allow you to do that, but you can use this model, and on the other platform which I said, that is Glitch, you will be able to create games using these models. So output, again the same way, click on export model and click on, as I told you here, you can see it does not allow you to download the outputs for your phone or your TensorFlow platform. It allows only the JavaScript. So click on JavaScript, upload my model. You can do the same thing. I'm copying the entire code. So if I click on this small icon here, it copies the code directly. And let me show the sample now. So I'm saving this as a HTML file, which earlier I had already saved. Let me reload it. You can see earlier it was saying image model. Now it says teachable machine audio model. And I click on start, and it could ask me for permission maybe for the microphone. Let me see. Yeah. So once it is received, you can see the output. So background noise, test, claps is 0, whistle. So now if I like whistle for the whistle, I think it will go higher. Yeah, you can see that the whistle went to 1 and stopped coming there, because whistle is nothing but the frequency of the air coming out of my mouth, and that's why even now you can see sometimes the whistle going 1 or 2 points higher and lower. All right. So these two are the samples which I wanted to talk about. Like this is these two models were something which I wanted to do it. Then there is also another website. If you are interested, you can explore this. It is called Vekinator.org. I'm sure you will get this link in the chat as well. And also I'll write it here. It is Vekinator.org. This website helps you to create new music, build new musical instrument, gestural game controllers. So you can explore that. It's free of cost, like it's again open source thing. So with that, I think I come to the end of today's session. We'll be happy to take some questions. I will be back tomorrow. Like we have another workshop tomorrow also. It's about creating your own chatbot. I hope it will be interesting for you. We'll talk a bit about deep learning as well before that.
Thank you very much, Ghanshyam. Thank you very much. I hope their children have learned and have been able to understand what you've tried to explain. There are a few questions here that I was looking at. Okay, so can we make voice assistant recognition using this home-based voice assistant?
Uh, I think I'll hold off. Like Arvind, we'll hold off that question for tomorrow because a little bit will be there. Like I'll be talking about voice assistant. So let's hold it till tomorrow.
And there's another one. What is the best platform to make games?
It depends. It totally depends if what kind of games you're looking for. If you're looking for Android games, I think I had tried it in the past, but off late I haven't seen if it allows machine learning models as well. You could use the App Inventor. It's a free, like again for people who still don't know Android programming, you can use App Inventor. Let me try. Let me show you the site. Yeah, it's. I'm just opening it. So yeah, it's a project by MIT where it allows you to create your own Android applications. It need not be just games. It could be like something to do with IoT also, where you can you can create mobile applications, Android applications using this platform. It's more like a drag and drop platform itself. Something fun to work with. I'm sure like this will be something which will be of help for Android games development. Yeah, any other thing which, because I think there have been so many, I've not been able to answer all the questions. I tried whenever possible to look at the chat, but it was scrolling at that speed that I might have missed some questions as well.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Hi, Ghana.
Hi,
Mostly
Rohit.
questions.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you. There are more questions coming your way. So what we could definitely do is to create a group or curate all these questions and maybe share it with you in due
Yeah,
course.
sure.
Yeah. I hope it was worth your time and effort also, Ghana. While I'm sure students would have learned immensely.
Yeah.
Hello, participants. If you have any feedback for us, please share it with us. We'll be more than happy. Please do join us tomorrow. We have fantastic line of speakers tomorrow also, and tomorrow you learn to build your own chatbots from this man on your screen. So please be with us tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. We have ex head of robotics, Microsoft, coming and talking about how artificial intelligence and robotics are going together. Please be there. Yes, you can leave now. Thank you so much for today. See you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bye.
Rohit, just one thing. So if in
Yes,
case they
sir.
have any questions, they can feel free to send me email
I am
or
I am
on
taking
Twitter.
this screenshot and putting in that group, Anna. That this
Okay,
is
sounds
awesome.
good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank
Thank
Bye.
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Bye.